We have a fear of judgment, particularly being judged negatively because we're human beings. Now, what are we going to do about this? This is the meat and potatoes of what I want to share with you today. How do we warm up when it comes to these fears? The first practice I want us to get into is something by Tim Ferriss called fear setting. The idea is, instead of goal setting, right? We're used to goal setting. We're not going to set goals. We're actually going to dissect our fears. So in this case, you're afraid of making a mistake. So then you carry that thought forward and you say to yourself, what will happen to me if I freeze? Are people going to throw those tomatoes at you? Are you actually going to pass out? What is the thing that you're afraid of? And I'll give you an example from my own life. When I first left a steady, comfortable job, I was scared out of my mind. And the fears were financial. I was afraid, and I did this fear setting exercise. I read Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week, and the fear became, I'm going to let go of this job. I'm never going to make enough money, and I'm going to be homeless. Spiraled from 0 to 1,000,000 without ever thinking about the steps in between. So the practice of fear setting means you write down the thing you're afraid of. Now, some of those things might be true. So the other part of fear setting is putting in steps. What are you going to do about it? What action steps can you take if that does in fact happen to you? Think about, what would my role model do in whatever world you're in? Who is a person that you respect and admire as a great speaker? And what would they do if they were delivering that message? It's like the concept of channeling a person who you think is fantastic at this skill, and that may give you some creative inspiration to step it up in the moment. There are some practical things that we can do as well. We cannot and should not skimp on rehearsal. If you're not rehearsing, you're giving your crappy first draft, and it's just not good, right? It's not going to be your best work. So of course you rehearse. There's also nothing wrong with having some notes to help guide your content. But the problem is that when people read, they often lose vocal variety. But there's nothing wrong with having notes, note card, an idea, prompts, something. And if you're doing it virtually, having it somewhere where it's visible to you to make sure that you're not missing anything when all the excitement and the energy comes in. And then thirdly, we need to actually normalize mistakes. Why is it that making a mistake is considered such a bad thing? Especially when we know that we have to make mistakes in order to learn. In fact, I love one of the quotes that says, failure is not an option, it's a requirement. An important tip to help normalize the mistakes that connects to rehearsing is to have some catchphrases ready. Expect that you might lose your place. Expect that you might blank, that you might go off track. You would say things along the lines of, let's put a pause in what I'm saying for a moment and let me check in with you. And then ask your audience a question, whether it's a rhetorical one or an actual direct one to engage them, to give you a minute to catch up. Acknowledging the mistake to the audience does humanize you. It's often an endearing thing to hear someone say, you have no idea how nervous I am right now. People can empathize with that, or even just admitting, I'm a nervous wreck right now. Can you believe I just forgot what I was about to say? Now, when I started teaching at a university, I had a really kind professor come into the classroom and say to me, this classroom is so noisy. You must have done a great job. I shared with him, it was great energy, but there's so many things I wish I had done differently. And he said to me, well, listen, I'm going to tell you some advice that was given to me. There will always be 3 classes. The class you planned to teach, the class you should have taught, and the class you actually taught. And they're never going to be the same. So I think that this concept applies also to us in public speaking. There is the speech, the presentation, the message, the content, the live, the video that we planned to deliver, the one that we should have delivered, and the one that we actually delivered. And I hope that that makes sense to you and is encouraging to you as you prepare your own content. Everyone, thank you for your time, for your energy, for your presence. Ciao, guys. Have a great week. And remember that your voice matters.